Gosh, Bills Mafia, is it time to hit that panic button? We got to discuss it. Losing Tre White, Matt Milano, Daquan Jones. Now, I think there's some further testing that needs to occur here, seeing if Daquan Jones, Matt Milano are going to be out for the entire season. So they both are going to require surgery per the news coming out today, which really is not a good sign. But we all know the Bills are anticipated to make it to the Super Bowl here late playoff run. Could Matt Milano, as long as there's no, ligament damage, if it's just a broken leg, maybe it does heal up. It's still kind of a little bit early in the season, like we almost saw Micah Hyde come back last year. But let me know in the chat if you guys are watching live. Answer on that poll. Do you think it is time to hit the panic button? And I'm here to basically convince you that it is not. Believe things just got maybe a little bit more difficult. Obviously, Daquan Jones probably playing one of the best, if not the best defensive tackle in the NFL so far this season, as well as Matt Milano, if not the best, one of the best linebackers in the NFL this season. So those are two huge losses, for the Buffalo Bills. And I think those players are really luxuries. They're luxuries for the Buffalo Bills. Matt Milano was a luxury having that extreme of a talented player at that position. But I think what needs to happen here is Tyrell Dotson, Dorian Williams, they need to see the success that Matt Milano's had, and they've been witnessing the success that Matt Milano's had. So I think it's you understand what's capable, what they're fully capable of. I mean, Matt Milano was on track to definitely make a Pro Bowl here, potentially win Defensive Player of the Year, and goes down breaking his leg. But guys, comments, questions, concerns in the chat, let me know. We're going to be taking a look at Matt Milano's specific injury, and we're also going to be taking a look at some other things regarding the New York Giants game. Also hopping on X or Twitter, just taking a look at some overall stats across the NFL, see where the New York Giants kind of stack up compared to the Buffalo Bills. But while we're talking about Matt Milano's injury, I was able to pull up the moment it happened, and we have yet to see. We really have yet to see the actual other clip of Matt Milano's injury. So, it's really important to note what happened here. Now, I know Daquan Jones's injury is huge too, and keep in mind that happened on the first series of the game. Daquan Jones and the Buffalo Bills made Trevor Lawrence and the Jaguars go 3-and-out on their first series of the game, and it was mainly because of Daquan Jones' tackle on 3rd-and-1, making a tackle for loss, stopping them short and forcing them to punt the ball. Daquan Jones was going to be an important element for the Buffalo Bills versus the Jacksonville Jaguars, and he went out on the first series of a series that was 3-and-out for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Daquan Jones was out the entire game after that. So really, after that drive, the Jaguars started moving the ball all the way down the field, right? They started kind of dictating to the Bills a little bit. I think we were a little frazzled losing Daquan Jones up front. We had to adjust quick. Our offense didn't do us any favors too. We started slow offensively, and really, most importantly, 11 penalties for 109 yards. 11 penalties for 109 yards, and the Bills only lost by 5. I mean, we basically marched them all the way down the football field, right? I mean, we gave them 7 or 3 points easily. So if we didn't have that bad of penalties, and yeah, I know the refs, there was a lot of debatable calls there too. Between the refs and the turf, makes me absolutely nauseous looking at this game. But guys, we got a comment in the chat. Won't Donkey 247 says Bills just added Josh Norman to the practice squad. Josh Norman, I don't really see him making the field, but I think it is an important piece. It's an important piece to bring in here, knowing that Tre White is going to be away. He's going to be rehabbing and all these things. Josh Norman getting to the championship with Sean McDermott in his past with the Panthers. And of course, the Bills made it the furthest that they ever made it when Josh Norman was on this team. We made it to the championship game. with Josh Norman when he was here. Now, and everyone sees the clip of him getting stiff armed by Derrick Henry. Now, I don't see Josh Norman actually making the field unless it gets to like a crazy, crazy situation. We saw um, Ingram, right, come on for the Bills too, and Kaiir Elam too. We need to discuss something. Kaiir Elam. All right, everyone missed this during the press conference today. So Eric Washington was speaking about the players, right, and he was actually asked about the turf and the turf situation, and you got to look at what the players were saying here, right? So unfortunately, Kaiir Elam actually said that he didn't have proper footing. He couldn't find his footing on that turf. So whether that is true, whether that's not true, I mean, you have to listen to the players. And again, I just want to pull up Matt Milano's other angle of the injury here, and you're going to literally see Matt Milano running. His leg gets stuck in the turf, and obviously we now know that it broke. So it was a non-contact injury. Now we don't know if it's an ACL, MCL. He could be spared of that. Thank God. Thank God it has a chance of coming back this season. Thank God. Are you kidding me? But as he's running, his leg sticks in the ground, and we now know it breaks. I mean, it's absolutely insane. I'm gonna just pull it up really quick here and play it. It happens really quick, but so we could see. Man, I'm trying to stop it right here. You're gonna see Matt Milano. All right. Matt Milano running towards Trevor Lawrence. It's kind of blurry, but just take a little time to digest what we're looking at here. Trevor Lawrence was kind of flush from the pocket a little bit. He kind of started stepping up into the pocket. We got a bunch of defensive linemen there. I believe it's Leonard Floyd, Tim Settle, Kingsley Jonathan's out there too. But Matt Milano, obviously, this is the play. He breaks his leg. His left leg, you're going to have to notice this very fast, but his left leg gets stuck in the grass or in the turf. Okay, it gets stuck in the turf, and you're going to see his foot kind of turn very rapidly as he's moving. So I don't know if it twisted his leg or it literally just like bent and snapped it, but you're going to clearly see that Matt Milano's cleats or foot got stuck in this turf. See his foot now turned? You see that? And there's no reason that should have happened. We'll play it again. There's no reason his foot should have turned. Like he was running straight in, right? I'm going to play it again. Right there, you could see his left leg was stuck in the turf. His left leg was stuck in the turf. He's running freely in, and his left leg gets stuck. Right? Keep playing it. Run it freely in, and his left leg gets stuck. Boom. You can see it gets stuck. Right there. I'll pause it on the dang freaking spot. Don't you worry. Okay. I hope you guys are seeing this, right? Right there. You could see his foot got stuck. Matt Milano's foot got stuck in that turf. So I don't want to keep pounding on this. But this is the other angle of Matt Milano. Right there. That was a good look at it. See, there's no reason why his foot got, like, you could see it. So absolutely insane. It's just a brutal, unlucky injury. You know, Taron Johnson coming out after the game, basically saying the turf was trash, saying like he got spared of a season-ending injury. An anonymous player came out too and said like that was like playing on concrete, like it really beat them up. And then Eric Washington specifically admitting today in his press conference that Kaiir Elam, I know Joshua says here Elam is not it, but Kaiir Elam told them like he couldn't find his footing on that turf. And I believe it. I believe it. And, you know, Sean McDermott in his press conference today, too, even said, hey, look, like they were there for 2 weeks. Like, and scientifically, it's proven right now. Everyone knows it's proven. It really takes about 12 days to get used to that time change being overseas. So the Jaguars were definitely used to that change being there for 2 weeks. I mean, we now know no game has ever happened like that. And there's a clip from Roger Goodell online bouncing around right now, even being asked this about the season before we knew what teams were going to be going over there. And, Goodell was like, yeah, it's never happened before, but we're going to really learn a lot after this season, knowing, if a team really does have an advantage being there for 2 weeks or if they don't, and I agree what Emmanuel's saying here. That game was completely unfair. It really was unfair. Jaguars had the advantage being there for 2 weeks. They had an advantage, on that turf, practicing on that turf, which they had freaking grass, and then they used their turf. I mean, I think that's such crap. That's such crap. The Bills and the NFL, we need to demand better. If we're going over there making London all this money, I think we need to demand a little bit better, and we need to demand better as fans right now in the NFL. I hope you guys saw my video that I dropped today, but when you hear players like Taron Johnson, Kyer Elam saying the footing, he couldn't find his footing. You see the injury to Matt Milano that we literally just played here. You could see his foot getting stuck right in the ground. I mean, Matt Milano, see his left foot right here. His foot's planted and it gets stuck and it breaks. It's are you kidding me right now? Like, there's no reason for this. There's no reason for this. And what is the purpose of artificial turf? To save money because it's cheaper. There's not a lot of maintenance costs, right? You don't have to cut it. You don't have to, treat it all the time. You don't have to water it. There's an additional cost to the owners for having natural grass. But, I think the greed needs to go away. And I think we're starting to understand it. Fans pay the bills in the NFL for the most part, other than advertisers. But, we need to demand more. And injuries are just not a good look for the Buffalo Bills. They're really not a good look for the Bills or any team in the NFL. But guys, comments, questions, concerns, get them in the chat. Paul says, yeah, he wouldn't have turned his ankle sideways to make that tackle. Exactly. You could clearly see Matt Milano getting stuck in the turf there. Really, really unfortunate injury. Spears, Bills talk. Yeah, I know. Sometimes you got to wonder. 11 penalties for 109 yards against the Buffalo Bills. The refs did everything they could to freaking hand that game to the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I know there's a lot of discussion going on between the penalty on Jordan Poyer, calling it a personal foul. Even though the ball was tipped at the line of scrimmage, they still called it personal foul, which overrules the tippage at the line of scrimmage. Normally, if the ball's tipped at the line of scrimmage, you could basically tackle the dang player to the ground once that ball is tipped. But they felt as though it was an aggressive, intentional hit by Jordan Poyer. And when you look at it, it is a bang play, and I guess the speed of the moment and all that. But afterwards, you really look at it, Jordan Poyer again, kind of protecting himself, and it just turned out to be a big hit. Manuel says Steelers left on Sunday. Yeah, I know. You really debate the jet lag situation and when to go over there. And this is so new. It's so new. And Roger Goodell even stating, like, we're going to learn a lot after this season, knowing that this is the first time in this London series history that a team is going to be there for 2 weeks. They have a clear advantage when that happens. They have a clear advantage for when that happens. And they should have known that. If the science is there and proven that, hey, look, it takes about 12 days for the body to adjust to a time change like that. If Goodell and the science of that was already out there, why would you have a team be there for 2 weeks? I don't know. And then take away our home game, nonetheless. It was supposed to be our freaking home game. We should have went there first if that was our home game. I don't know. That game, I just had weird feelings all over it. And I know the title of this video is, are the Bills hitting the panic button? I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I really think things may have gotten a little bit more difficult, but I still believe. I still believe in this team without a doubt. The Bills should sue. Oh man, yeah, Milano. Man, I don't know. I don't know if the Bills could sue London or that turf, but I think we need to demand more. Players need to demand more. Fans need to demand more. Get over the little bit of money that owners are saving by using artificial turf. Put freaking grass across the NFL. It would only cost $12 million. Gosh, it's just insane. It's insane. I feel like fans, we could start a GoFundMe. The fans and players should start a GoFundMe for natural grass. Raise freaking 12 million and just slap it in these owners' faces. It's just insane. It's crazy, guys. It's just not right. Injuries just tarnish the NFL. Dilly Dilly Dale says time to start the rebuild. Oh God, Allen contracts kicks in. Von Miller also. Milano, Daquan Jones seasons. We'll see. Dilly Dilly Dale. We gotta trust on our depth. We gotta trust the depth here in Buffalo. And I started this by saying, Daquan Jones, Matt Milano, true luxuries. I mean, these are luxury type players, irreplaceable type players. But you can't forget about the players that are on this team, like Sean McDermott. We drafted Matt Milano. We coached up Matt Milano to play the way he's playing and to be at this caliber. So, you have to believe in our coaching and our ability to get these players up to speed, like Dorian Williams, Tyrell Dotson. Dotson stepped in too. Dotson did pretty well. You never really know. I think Dorian Williams had that pass deflection too and pass coverage, which was excellent. Will we see maybe a rotation like Dotson in on first down, second down, and if it's like third and long type situation, maybe Dorian Williams goes out there because he is faster. He might be a little bit better in pass coverage situations, but Sean McDermott is doing his thing. We were really depleted, extremely depleted going into that game. Greg Rousseau with the foot, Shaq Lawson with a toe. We were without Tre White. It was very, very depleted already. And then we didn't have certain players up. We called up Michael Vickers, right? I'm sure we would have had other players out there. I mean, losing Daquan Jones was a huge, huge loss on the first series of the game. And sure enough, we made them go 3 and out. They went 3 and out on that first series. So it just shows you what we missed. When Daquan Jones and the Jacksonville Jaguars got the ball to start the game, Bill stuffed them. We stuffed them with Daquan Jones. We stuffed them with Matt Milano out there. We were anticipating to have that defense all throughout the game. And then on that 3rd and 1, Daquan Jones breaks in there, makes a hell of a tackle, diving in, but tears his pec. And the Bills stop him. It was 4th and 2. They punted it away. And our offense really didn't do any favors. Our offense was really, really stale and slow. One thing we got to credit this offensive line, Josh Allen was pressured. Josh Allen was forced off his spot, but not a sack. Josh Allen didn't get sacked once, so you look at the NFL's top sack leader, Josh Allen for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he was not able to get home against Josh Allen and the Bills. So I really think that's huge. This offensive line is still doing some big time things, and that is with the help of Ken Dorsey. We're having tight ends. We're having wide receivers. We're having even Reggie Gilliam line up at the tight end spot, Quentin Morris at the tight end spot, and chip and help out in pass blocking situations. So, really what I'm most concerned about is the offensive struggles against the Jacksonville Jaguars, more so on this defense. I really think this defense was pretty formidable with all the injuries, holding their own, regarding everything, and then you also see what the Bills have this year. Just take a look at everything. AJ Epinesa freaking blossoming on this defensive line right now. I mean, what a strip sack, fumble recovery too, nonetheless. He did freaking everything on that dang play. And then a pick six. He's batting balls at the line of scrimmage. AJ Epinesa is clearly blossoming into his own. I absolutely think that's huge. Tim Settle in year 2 with the Bills is clearly better than what he was last year at this point. Tim Settle's definitely doing pretty well. Brandon Beane foresaw what happened with Daquan Jones last year in the playoffs against the Cincinnati Bengals, how they were just able to run it down our throats, which again happened pretty much against the Jacksonville Jaguars. Now, Daquan Jones, we have a backup there, Poona Ford. Poona Ford wasn't active. Poona Ford was not active versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. So, absolutely crazy. Paul says home should be home at the Ralph. Yes, exactly. I can't believe we had to give up a home game to travel to London on that turf. Going against a team that was there for 2 weeks. Thinking about it, it's like it makes zero sense. And then the refs too. 11 penalties for 109 yards. We marched them all the way down the field, and we only lost by 5 points. We only lost by 5 points. We didn't have Milano. We didn't have Tre White. We didn't have Daquan Jones, right? And the reason why I'm including Tre White into this conversation is we had to adjust. This is Kaiir Elam's first game back going against Kelvin Ridley, a pretty decent freaking wide receiver. And then you hear Eric Washington say that Kaiir Elam said he couldn't find his footing on that turf. And I believe him. That turf was trash. We saw Matt Milano's foot getting stuck on the ground on that clip. And ultimately now we know broke his leg because of it. I think Kaiir Elam deserves another chance. Eric Washington even said, I would not discount Kaiir Elam, and from everything I hear too from the players is he's like working one of the hardest in the background, quietly working, grinding after practice, staying there as long as he can, Kaiir Elam. And you really look at the limited snaps that he's had, he's really done a decent job. Like he's made a lot of interceptions for the limited snaps that he's had. So he does have playmaking ability. It's just being consistent. Noob says, yeah, I think it's a good game on this season. Oh, gosh. Yeah. Things just got a lot harder. Things definitely got a lot harder. And we now know, like, Milano and Daquan Jones, they could be back. Depending on what happens here. I mean, if the Bills get to the championship game, if we get to the Super Bowl, what happens if we have Matt Milano and Daquan Jones like back in the Super Bowl? After we know the NFL, miracles happen. Weird things have happened before. You don't know. You really don't know. I mean, the luxury of Daquan Jones, the luxury of Matt Milano, but we still have Josh Allen. We still have Stephon Diggs. We still have an offense that's really, really proven themselves here with Ken Dorsey in year 2. I mean, James Cook up until yesterday was on fire. We were very balanced. Josh Allen under center and shotgun and all these different unique formations, mixing between 12 personnel, 13 personnel, 11 personnel. It's just insane. It's absolutely insane what the Bills have really showcased so far in 2023 offensively. Man, you talk about evolving Brian Daboll, who we're going to be going against this week, and Tyrod Taylor, who broke the playoff drought for Bills Mafia. There's a lot happening going into this game. The New York Giants, they got a lot of injuries. They're the worst scoring offense in the league. Man, I'm kind of hoping Daniel Jones is a go. Brian Daboll in his press conference today said he's optimistic that Daniel Jones is going to be a go after suffering a concussion. But he said he spoke with him and he does seem ready. But, I don't know. I feel like a Tyrod Taylor could actually help maybe the Giants. But we'll see. A wild card spot. Yeah, guys, you never know. I think the Bills, we got some easy games going forward, I think. You do look at some hard games, but, we'll be good. We're going to be good. Chip Clark says another team played on the field. Yeah, we had to play against the refs and the Jaguars. That's for sure. Yeah, guys, absolutely insane. The NFL stole the game for us. I feel the same way. I really do. I feel like, and I don't know how it was decided that you have the Bills go over there in an experimental week. It's an experimental week. Roger Goodell is filmed. He's on camera, questioned about this specifically, saying like, hey, like right after the NFL schedule came out, they asked Roger Goodell, like, oh, like, why did you decide to have the Jaguars there for 2 weeks? Like, is that going to be advantage for them, a disadvantage. Like no one really knew what was going to happen. And yeah, I mean, Goodell, why would you have such an experimental week be such like kind of an important game? The Buffalo Bills, a top team in the NFL. Jaguars are still a top team in the AFC. I mean, they made the playoffs last year too. I feel like if you're going to experiment, make it with teams that are, not doing so hot, or like are not competing for a Super Bowl run. It's just very weird in the middle of the season. Now, and the other thing we have to understand too is the Bills, when you go to London, you have an option of having your bye come immediately after the week of going to London, or you could say, no, I don't want it to be that week. The Buffalo Bills opted and said, no, we don't want the bye immediately after London because we played so early. It was only week 5. So we were like, well, week 5, if we don't get the bye immediately after, it'll clearly be after that. So we opted to have a later bye this season. I don't know. Maybe with all these injuries right now, you got to think like maybe it'd be better to have a bye right now to get another week, sit back, adjust to this defense to see how we could really utilize our players, put our best players in the best position to succeed, So we got to check that out. Chip says blame the Bills equipment team. Gosh. The thing is too, Chip, they were practicing. I asked a lot of the Bills media members too. I was trying to get through to any of them. They weren't practicing in the stadium. They were practicing on the practice turf outside. And I was like, is there a difference? Is it the same? And no one really got back to me. And I don't know. I don't know if it was the same or if it was clearly different. It's hard. I've been saying it like every turf has its own personality. Every turf is unique. Like you really have to play on it and get accustomed to it. And when you're talking about NFL players that like routine, right? They like familiarity. They don't like being out of routine or getting not feeling like they have their feet under them or not having the confidence under their feet. That's not good. That's just not good. Just disaster waiting to happen. And you get so many differences with turf. You go any turf field, even if it's made of the same materials, it could still be slightly differently. It's like, what the hell? Like there's so many inconsistencies. Whereas grass, like the ground under the grass is very consistent. It's like I don't know. There's different types of grasses and things, right? But the ground, like hard or soft, it's very consistent. Turf could be very soft where if you're running full speed, you don't even feel your feet. Or they could be like super hard where you're like running and it's like your feet are pounding like you're running on the street. It's like, oh gosh, I don't know. We got to get rid of turf. It's freaking horrible. We've been seeing kids. I remember when turf first came out and kids never tore their ACLs. Kids in high school were tearing their ACLs and shit. It's freaking nuts. Like, what do you think? Growing in legit. It wasn't Cook's fault. They didn't call any running plays. We definitely got away. Yeah, I think we hit the panic button. You see the title of this video. I think the Bills hit the panic button. We saw Calvin Ridley kind of getting exposed, a little bit, or exposing the Bills a little bit. And Doug Peterson, I kind of started rewatching majority of the game. I didn't get through it all, but Doug Peterson, he had a plan. His plan was to attack Dane Jackson. He knew coming into this game we were without Tre White. He didn't know Daquan Jones was going to go down. He didn't know Matt Milano was going to go down. And, you saw what Doug Peterson did was he attacked Dane Jackson early in the game. Whether how Sean McDermott forces our corners to tackle. Doug Peterson schemed his offense and forced Dane Jackson to come in and tackle. He tested him that way. He wanted to test Dane Jackson's tackling ability against the run, and he did well. Dane Jackson was laying the lumber earlier in the game. And then Doug Peterson was relentless, and then he wanted to test him in the pass. And then he tested Dane Jackson in the pass, and Dane Jackson did a great job against Calvin Ridley, Zay Jones, Christian Kirk. He did very, very well, saving a touchdown. in the back of the end zone. Unbelievable. I believe it was on tight end, Evan Ingram, but Dane Jackson could not have played that any better. If Tre White was in there too, we'd have to hope Tre White would have made that play too. It was a Tre White play from Dane Jackson. And after that moment, Doug Peterson moved on. He was like, all right, I tested Dane Jackson. I tested Dane Jackson's ability to tackle. I tested his ability in coverage. He won. I'm moving on to Kaiir Elam. And then he started testing Kaiir Elam. And it was different. Kaiir Elam openly admitting after the game, he didn't have proper footing. He couldn't find his footing under him. And Calvin Ridley, a hell of a freaking wide receiver, getting a lot underneath. Now, Kaiir Elam didn't get burned deep or anything like that. He let a lot happen underneath, gave up a lot, but he did make a lot of tackles. They tested Kaiir Elam's tackling ability too. Doug Peterson tested Kaiir Elam against the run and the pass too. And yeah, I think he held his own in the run. Obviously, in the pass, he could have played a little bit better. But Kaiir Elam, man, we got to give him a little bit more of an opportunity. I know it's not a popular take. I know Bills Mafia thinks he's a boss right now. But Christian Benford too, he could be coming back. Dealing with a shoulder. We got to see. We got to see what's going to happen there. I think Dane Jackson clearly was the better corner out of the two between Kaiir Elam and Dane Jackson. I think he was definitely the one. But Christian Benford should be on his way back. Should be a huge, huge addition. Noob says this offense is elite, but I don't trust our DB room at all. We shall see. Got to hope for Benford's shoulder. And he was out, right? He was out and came back into that game. And, the Bills, man, gosh, we were right there. We were right there. Christian Benford, he'll be good. He'll be back for Bills Mafia. Manuel says we needed to depend on him. I totally agree. The playoffs is where we always have problems. And I believe that's kind of Leslie Frazier. I think that's kind of what we're trying to turn the page on, getting over that hump. We've been talking about it for years. And, we saw it. A lot of people giving Sean McDermott flack for calling a blitz on that 3rd and 15, that final completion for Trevor Lawrence to Calvin Ridley on Micah Hyde. Everyone's like, why would we blitz and put Micah Hyde in that situation on Calvin Ridley? But if you rewatch the game, Micah Hyde was millimeters from making a play. Trevor Lawrence is on fire this season. Trevor Lawrence played a hell of a game against the Buffalo Bills. Even Leonard Floyd dropping back into coverage as a defensive end and getting the ball around Leonard Floyd. Leonard Floyd, 6'5", 6'6". He's huge. I mean, Trevor Lawrence's ball placement was absolutely, absolutely insane. And he deserves a lot more credit for that game, Trevor Lawrence. And I think Sean McDermott, the difference between Leslie Frazier and Sean McDermott was showed on that play. And these, when our backs are up against the wall, right, and these clutch moments of the game, Leslie Frazier, I feel like, played a very complacent game. He played off. And you want to be aggressive in those moments because you are nervous. Players are nervous. And speaking of science, it's scientifically proven that your nerves don't fire fast when you are nervous. Like, it's proven you are actually slower when you're nervous. So I think it's important for the defensive coordinator to dictate what our players do on that play. And you do that by staying aggressive, by calling a blitz. You have players, instead of reading and reacting, you're telling the players to do a certain thing and move. And I believe that has been part of our problems. Even going back to the Houston loss when Deshaun Watson completed the 3rd down to win the game, Daquan Jones, right? And us playing soft coverage, or the 13 seconds in Kansas City and us playing off and loose. Like, Leslie Frazier had a lot to do with that. And I don't want to take away anything from Leslie Frazier. Like, I loved Leslie Frazier as an assistant head coach for the Bills, but when he calls plays defensively and comes up with defensive packages, different defensive line packages, just weird things I was not a fan of. But he's great at coaching football and the fundamentals of the game, like getting players to play great, but he's just not good at calling plays. I mean, that's just one thing with coaching, right? There's so many elements to coaching. Like, you can coach a player and get them up to speed and be a great football player, But when it comes to calling defensive plays, that's a whole other thing. That's a whole other thing. And I think that's where Leslie Frazier lacks. And I really believe that's where Sean McDermott may flourish. I mean, he's done an excellent, excellent job. We almost stopped him on that 3rd and 15. We almost got him. I mean, Micah Hyde was this close on that play. So Sean McDermott, I think, is doing a great job. Ken Dorsey is doing a great job. Womp Donkey says, I want to see more Harris and Murray running the ball. Also get Kincaid the ball as much as we can. Yeah, Harris and Murray, they run hard, don't they? And I think they bring such a great attitude for the Bills. And I was kind of surprised. We saw how stout the Jags were being defensively. They were extremely stout, being extremely strong at that line of scrimmage. Damian Harris, he's not getting a lot of attention, but crucial downs and distances, he's come in and picked up some awesome first downs. I mean, they haven't gone for big runs, maybe 2-3 yard runs, but still they're first downs. He's finding a crease in that offensive line. I mean, they're freaks. Latavius Murray too, and they are slightly different type running backs. And I think we just got away from the run. We got away from the run. I think we hit the panic button early in the game. Buffalo Bills offense started slow. We had 4 or 5 punts in a row to start the game. And I think we saw what was happening. They were moving the ball. Bills were down 11-0, right? 11 zip. They saw Daquan Jones was out. Matt Milano was out. They hurried that line of scrimmage. They went for a 2-point conversion, and they got it. They were up 8 zip, and then they marched down there, right? They kick a field goal. They're up 11 zip. And next thing you know, it's about halftime, right? It's about halftime, and the Bills were like, what? And thankfully, too, right before halftime, AJ Epinesa comes up with that strip sack fumble recovery and takes at least 3 points away from the Jags. They were about to score another touchdown. And you really think about it, the penalties in this game really played a huge role. 11 penalties, 109 yards was just freaking horrible. It was absolutely horrible. And yes, the turnover battle, you look at it, turnovers. Bills had 2, Jaguars had 2. But when you look at the 2 turnovers, or all the turnovers that happened in the game, right? The Bills, it's just crazy, right? Josh Allen throws on a 3rd and 15, intercepted the first turnover, but they're down within their 10-yard line, treating it like almost like another punt again, right? After we were penalized, another result of being 3rd and 15 because of a penalty, Josh Allen has to throw it deep, but they get down inside their own 10-yard line on that one interception. So how bad an interception was that, right? And then the other turnover was Stephon Diggs on the very last play of the game on the lateral. So you look at the turnover battle and just the stats, and the stats kind of lie in this one, because you see, okay, the Bills had 2 turnovers, the Jags had 2 turnovers, but really the Bills won the turnover battle and we still lost. And I'm saying it's really because of that 11 penalties, 109 yards, also the injuries and having to adjust. So, and I think we could have done some things differently. Bills, I think, just hit the panic button. We started passing it. We got away from running the football. Josh Allen under center, all that play action. It's just when you're not running the ball successfully, you can't really run the play action under center too. It's like not working out. Dorian Williams looked good, but our DBs couldn't cover a grandma if she ran good enough route. I think they did it. Like I already mentioned, Dane Jackson, I think he did fairly well. Kyer Elam, we got to see more. And yeah, I think it's fair to expect more from Kyer Elam. You got to look at the positives though, and I think he is good against the run. He did fairly decent against the run. And again, him openly admitting after the game that he didn't have proper footing out there. That's a huge thing. It's a huge thing that the Bills, we got to look at. We definitely have to look at. See something. All right, let's get to the chat really quick. Oh, one of the Bills players said the turf felt like concrete. Exactly. Anonymous player said that turf felt like concrete. We already showed it here, but Matt Milano, we've been kind of playing this over and over again. You could see Matt Milano, his left foot is stuck in the turf. And as he's coming in, he breaks his leg. I mean, Matt Milano's running freely in. There's no reason why his ankle should have turned. He's running freely into Trevor Lawrence. You could see Trevor Lawrence stepping up into the pocket, Matt Milano coming in, trying to get him. And as he's running freely in, straight in, we're going to see Matt Milano's left leg here, the leg that's planted on the turf right now. Matt Milano's running straight in. And what you're going to notice is Matt Milano's left foot turn 90 degrees very rapidly because his foot got stuck in the turf. See his foot now turned? See his foot now turned? Like there's no reason his foot should be turned. Why is his foot turned like that? So it's just freaking horrible, horrible, horrible stuff. Freaking turf. Yeah. Guys, oh my gosh, makes me nauseous. But yeah, getting Kincaid more involved too. I think we got to touch on that. Kincaid, you hear Rob Gronkowski coming out and Gronkowski saying like, man, Laporta, he said Laporta should have been the first tight end taken in this year's NFL draft. And then you look and Laporta, they got Jack Campbell, our guy, linebacker that we thought the Bills were interested in. And then they got Sam Laporta, who Rob Gronkowski's basically bashing Dalton Kincaid and being like, man, Sam Laporta should have been the first tight end in the NFL draft. And everyone's saying, oh, the Bills traded up for him. We did trade up for Dalton Kincaid. It was only a couple spots. We didn't give up much. But yeah, I believe Dalton Kincaid fits this offense pretty well, and Dalton Kincaid, he's a rookie, right? And you look at the route trees, right? And Chris Brown, Steve Tasker, they brought it up today discussing it. And he is the shortest route tree of all tight ends in the NFL right now, Dalton Kincaid. And that was the thought coming into the season, utilizing him like that Cole Beasley, shifty slot type wide receiver, but also keeping defenses honest because he could block, But Dalton Kincaid, he hasn't ran any deep routes. Dalton Kincaid, I mean, no touchdowns, really no explosive plays. He's just sitting in the zones and the creases and zone defenses. And I think that really is it. Teams and every team that we played so far this season has called a lot of zone against the Bills. And, the Jacksonville Jaguars, during last week, we discussed it. Their linebackers are awfully fast. And very, very fast, very aggressive. And we saw it. I mean, matched up very well against Dawson Knox, who is now known. Sean McDermott said he's dealing with a wrist injury. So we have Dalton Kincaid, concussion, and also Dawson Knox with a wrist. If we're running 12 personnel, 11 personnel, those are some big time losses. We don't know how badly that impacted this game too. We just hear about it afterwards. So I think Bills, we have to figure some things out, but Ken Dorsey is doing a good job. And again, the run, only 10 rushes, that has to improve. We have to run the football. You see the games that we've won and the success when we run it. So, could we have called some Josh Allen design quarterback runs? Could we have done a little bit more offensively to try and steal that game away? It's week 5. It's week 5. It's not the playoffs. And again, we're trying to have our running backs take care of it. And 10 carries is not enough. 10 carries is not enough. We'll learn from it. We'll definitely learn from it. Deontay Hardy too is a player I'd like to see get involved a little bit more. You had the biggest play from Deontay Hardy. Hardy too has been running a lot of underneath routes. Nothing that stems deep, so we have to start bringing that in, and maybe that's the plan in place right now because play teams against The Kansas City Chiefs, last year, the teams that were beating us, they had those 2 high safety shells. They played a crap ton of freaking zone coverage, and the Bills didn't have another answer to Stephon Diggs. Like we didn't have underneath routes. Like we didn't have someone else to throw to. That's why we brought in Cole Beasley last year and John Brown. We didn't have another answer. But now this offseason, we worked on that because that was a problem. It was a problem that showed up last year. We worked on that, made sure that we have another answer to Stephon Diggs. Now that we have that, are the Bills lacking explosion, right? Are we lacking explosive plays? And against the Jaguars, we did. Against the Jaguars, we did. And the reason why is because we couldn't run it. We couldn't run it. Those explosive plays that have happened this year have really been in play action. Josh Allen under center, and you fake the handoff, and it gives our wide receivers, gives their weapons more time to get open, to create space, confusion, right? A defender might think you actually are running it and just be way off his spot, and we got Stephon Diggs wide open for a touchdown. That's what play action does. You get so many more free, easy plays to run up the score. So really the deficiency was not running the football, not being able to run the football. Now this offensive line, we didn't give up a sack. That's freaking huge, but we definitely gotta find some ways to run it. And I don't think we had any jet sweeps. I know Calvin Ridley, they were using Ridley on jet sweeps. They're using Ridley. Ridley's a great wide receiver. They used him very, very well. Very well. Noob says, I also think Damian Harris should be the starter at running back. James is good, but I think we need power at running back. Yeah, I don't agree with that one, though, buddy. James Cook was top 10 running back so far this season. Actually had more yards over Travis Etienne going into this game, all-purpose yards this season so far. James Cook is definitely RB1 here. James Cook, too, it's like anytime he touches it, he can take it to the house. So you can't forego that. I like Damian Harris in short yardage situations, goal line situations, and also mixing and matching, kind of keeping teams honest in the middle of the field. Referees should be investigated. Those freaking zebras, just so crazy, so crazy. That call on Poyer was just unreal, absolutely unreal. But hey. You gotta be good enough to overcome those moments, and that we didn't have the talent there, right? You gotta be good enough to overcome the refs. And if we had Milano, if we had Daquan Jones still out there, I'm sure we would have won. Easily would have won. Again, Daquan Jones forcing the Jaguars to go 3 and out on the opening drive of the game, and after that, Daquan Jones was out. Matt Milano being lost after halfway through the first quarter. I mean, we didn't have our players. We didn't have our freaking players. And then we didn't have players on our freaking inactive list to come in and help out. Just absolutely insane. AJ Klein, too. We could have had AJ Klein up, but we had to rotate between Dorian Williams and Dotson, which we could continue to see a rotation through this season. But Joshua says the Bills will be fine. Josh Allen will have to do more since our defense is hurting right now. Just score 30-plus points a game, and we will be fine. Freaking love that comment right there. Exactly. It's about complimenting one another. And I've been thinking about it, and this Super Bowl is not lost, Bills Mafia. It's not lost by any means, I promise you. It's just a little bit harder. And everyone just needs to raise their standard a little bit more, right? We got to expect more from each and every single player. It's not just about the player that's filling in. It's not about the player filling in for Tre White. It's not about the player filling in for Daquan Jones, right? It's not about the player filling in for Matt Milano. It's about our team as a whole. Offense, defense, special teams, every freaking person on this team and coach rising to this occasion, knowing that it's going to be a little bit harder, that we lost some serious luxuries on this freaking team. And the Buffalo Bills, the season's not lost. It would just make this story that much better, And again, Milano, Daquan Jones, we still don't know. They could be back. Maybe the Bills do make it to the Super Bowl and they're back. Just think about that. How crazy would that be? Bounce back We're going to definitely bounce back against Brian Daboll and the New York Giants. Are you kidding me right now? Joe Shane and all these guys, Bobby Johnson, right? The offensive line coach. There's a lot of guys over there that left Buffalo that just they wanted to go. They wanted to go and leave Western New York. So what's that say? What's that say? We got to stick it to them. Yeah, I think they want to prove themselves against the Bills, but man, come on. Come on right now. They left us. Brian Daboll left Buffalo. Come on now. The commentators are full. They don't know half. Kincaid is clutch. I agree. He fits this offense a little bit more too. I know, you got some great stuff going on. There's some great tight ends. Luke Musgrave is another one too. But Sam Laporta is legit. He is definitely legit. Yo, you had me hyped during that game, Mario. I appreciate you, man. That was crazy. That was a crazy game. Crazy game. We had like close to 400 viewers at one point. That was by far the most that I've ever had. That's crazy. Just trade for a CB1. Hey, Christian Benford's coming back. Dane Jackson played very, very well. We got to take a look just at this upcoming matchup. I just want to show you the New York Giants. Oh, I did not want to show that again, but New York Giants, right? Taking a look really at their depth chart and everything. Daniel Jones, questionable, but Brian Daboll said today, highly optimistic that Daniel Jones is going to go. Bills Mafia kind of wanting to see our drought breaker, Tyrod Taylor, but I don't think that's going to happen. Saquon Barkley was out last week. I think he's probably still going to be out this week, but they're just beat up. You could see their left tackle, Andrew Thomas, was out. Their center was out, and they got some guys on IR too. Tommy Sweeney, another player that is out, another former Buffalo Bill. You just got to take a look and at their team. I mean, one thing you got to see is Boogie Basham, right? Boogie Basham, Bills traded to the New York Giants. We're going to be seeing him. But this defense, right? They definitely have a pretty solid defensive line. They got some big boys up there the Bills are going to have to take care of. I think that would be a good test for this offensive line. But really, I'm not worried. I'm not worried at all. And we can clearly see offensive stats here in the NFL so far. Buffalo Bills are currently 4th in the NFL. Actually, let me update total passing yards. Yeah, so we're 5th. 1, 2, 3, 4. We're 5th in the NFL in total passing yards. Go all the way down here to the very bottom. And what is that? The Giants are like 28th. I mean, they're not being able to pass it. Even running the football, the Buffalo Bills are doing some things here, right? You got to see Buffalo Bills down here. We're like 15th in the NFL, I'd say it's about. And the Giants down here, what's that? Like maybe like 20th. So they're doing better running the football versus passing it. That's for sure. And the Bills, we're going to get after them. We got to get after them. Let's see here. I want to see the defense. Buffalo Bills defense obviously doing some big time freaking things here. You could see New York Giants. New York Giants defense they've given up 1,133 total yards this season. The Bills 956 total touchdowns. You could see the Giants have given up 6 total touchdowns. Or what is that? Or I'm sorry, passing touchdowns. Total touchdowns. That's not right. Giants have given up 6 passing touchdowns. The Bills have given up 4 passing touchdowns. Interceptions. Bills are tied for first in the NFL with 8 interceptions. New York Giants, how many interceptions do they have? 2 interceptions. So we have 4x the amount of freaking interceptions over the Giants this year. I mean, that's freaking huge. That's huge. Let's see the rushing here. I believe the Buffalo Bills, we've been giving up some runs, but it's been kind of like weird moments of the game, like Miami Dolphins running it late on us. So Bills, look at the rushing yards that we've given up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We've given up the seventh most rushing yards in the NFL so far. And the Giants have given up the third most rushing yards in the NFL so far. Bills defense, we've given up 4 rushing touchdowns. The Giants have given up 9 rushing touchdowns. I believe that's first in the NFL. Yeah, Giants defense, they're just not able to stop the run. They're not stopping the run this year at all. At all. That's crazy. And then the turnovers, we could see. Forced fumbles. This is insane, really, when you look at it. The amount of forced fumbles here for the Bills. We're at 8 forced fumbles, but we've only recovered 4, right? So Giants down here. Giants have only 3 forced fumbles and 1 fumble recovery. So their defense really is just not making a lot of plays. Just not making a lot of plays. I think Bills definitely statistically have a huge advantage in this game. Again, they still have talent up on front on their team. Wan'Dale Robinson on offense too is definitely a sleeper in my mind. Sterling Shepard, they got the talent. Things just are not clicking. Darren Waller, obviously, a great tight end, but he's also having an off season. A very, very bad season so far. Dexter Lawrence, huge type players, guys. But the Bills, we're going to be getting more into the matchups this week and everything. I don't think it's time to hit the panic button. I do not foresee the Bills hitting the panic button. I know we signed Josh Norman here, but it is a practice squad signing to kind of help out Kaiir Elam, kind of help out the youngsters on this team. Christian Benford is still young too. But Dane Jackson, I think, played a very, very good game. A lot of people want to trade for Patrick Surtain. Patrick Surtain is great. Broncos are, they're not having the season they wanted. That could be an option. It could be an option. And, we'll see. The closer we get to that trade deadline, the more the Broncos lose. I think the more desperate they might be to try and trade Patrick Surtain. Sean Payton, talk about hitting the panic button. Sean Payton might be hitting that freaking panic button. Might start trading everybody. There's rumors that he might start cleaning house after multiple losses there. I don't get any games out here in Eugene. So YouTube is the only way. Oh, man, Eugene, Oregon. I just drove through there, right? I think Eugene, Oregon. I just drove through Highway 1 along the Oregon coast. Saw some cool waterfalls and everything. It's pretty sweet. Pretty stuff. Went some hot springs and everything. Spears, Bills talk. Can you talk about the positives about yesterday? I think there's a ton of positives. Guys. AJ Epinesa, are you kidding me right now? AJ Epinesa blossoming, taking care of business right now, doing his freaking thing. A strip sack, fumble, and fumble recovery is insane. Taking away 3 or 7 points against the Jags on the final play in halftime. That's freaking huge. And then Von Miller coming back too on a limited snap count. But Von Miller, though he didn't really make that like a sack or anything, he did make a couple plays that disrupted the run. Was crucial in that third down stop too, Von Miller. And, I really wish that we didn't have Von Miller on such like a strict snap count, or like we didn't waste our snaps with Von Miller. Like as soon as Von Miller hit a certain number of snaps in that game, we took him out. So, it was kind of mismanaged. I feel like it was mismanaged. Like I would have rather had Von Miller late in the game versus early in the game. Because when we got late in the game, Von Miller wasn't there. We had him out. He was maxed out. They maxed out Von Miller's snaps. So it was kind of unfortunate to see that. I don't know, that as the season progresses, we won't have to worry about that. I feel like as things start progressing, we won't have to really worry about having such like a pitch count for Von Miller. But I think having him come back to this team is huge. Seeing AJ Epinesa blossom is absolutely huge, and we're still doing some big time things. Gabe Davis scoring another touchdown in 4 straight weeks. I mean, come on. We're doing some big things. No sack for this offensive line against Josh Allen, who leads the NFL in sacks, and Trayvon Walker, another first-round pick. Yeah, I think the Bills, there were some definite positives. And considering we only lost by 5 points going against the Jacksonville Jaguars, when we had 109 penalty yards, we only lost by 5. That just shows you. And we didn't have Milano. We didn't have Daquan Jones. Unexpectedly during the game, they were out. Ed Oliver got banged up, had to miss some time. Taron Johnson hit his knee on that turf and had to miss a little bit of time during that game too as well. And it's just crazy. Leonard Floyd was hobbling. Kingsley Jonathan was hobbling in that game. I mean, we were just hobbling all over the dang place, and we only lost by 5 points. We still almost won. We still almost had an opportunity to win at the end of that game. And if the Bills didn't have that 109 penalty yards, right, we wouldn't have been so tight pressed at the end of the game to score a touchdown. If we didn't have 109 yards, which basically gave them a free field goal, Bills only lost by 5. That 109 yards gave them a free 3 points. At the end of the game, the Bills wouldn't have been down by 5. We would have been down by 2. We wouldn't have been so pressed to score a touchdown. Stephon Diggs wouldn't have had to lateral and do all these things, right? We could have just marched down there, kicked the field goal, and actually won the game if it wasn't for those 109 penalty yards, too. So I think the stars just didn't align for the Bills. We had to have something bounce our way a little bit because of all the injuries, because of all the things, and the depletion of players on this defense. And it didn't happen. We were close. The miracle just didn't happen. It was so close. It was close though. And I'm still proud of this team. There's still a lot of positives. Michael says, since it said Milano and Jones are out indefinitely, I'm hoping they can return during the playoffs. I'm highly optimistic. One can hope. Hey, Micah Hyde last year had freaking neck surgery, right, on his neck. And he even said he was ready to go. I believe in the championship game, or he was ready to go if we made it to the championship game. And so, hey, I'm not putting anything, as long as there's no ligament damage, there's no tears or anything like that. A broken leg, man, what is that? I feel like that's healable. It could be like a month and a half. You know what I'm saying? Gosh, that would be incredible. I think we will still make playoffs. I agree, Mike. We're definitely making the playoffs. Without a doubt, we making the playoffs. Michael says, absolutely, the only way Bills don't make playoffs is if Allen goes down. Yeah, that ain't going down. Allen ain't going down. I know he's on the Madden cover, but he ain't going down. We got Pete in the chat. He says, hey, BNC. Appreciate you, Pete. So what is output for Milano? Broken leg we have here. I guess they're still doing a little bit more, trying to see if there's any ligament or any tear damage. I wanted to show you guys the actual injury, right? The clip that they were showing online was not the right clip that they should have been showing, right? You saw Matt Milano on top of the pile, kind of like, in pain, but the injury happened on a non-contact, and it was the turf. So it makes you wonder why. I wonder why the NFL didn't show this clip on the injury, right? It's like they were just showing Matt Milano like on top of the pile, and you would assumed watching the game like he got a player bent on him or he got landed on, right? But you're going to clearly see Matt Milano's foot gets stuck in this turf, and watch. Right here, I'm going to get it again, don't you worry. His left foot, the foot that's planted in the ground right now. And just to digest this play a little bit, we had Trevor Lawrence get flush from the pocket a little bit. Trevor Lawrence stepping up into the pocket to make a throw. Matt Milano pursuing Trevor Lawrence in a straight line. Matt Milano's running in a straight line right now. There is nothing that comes into contact with Matt Milano's left foot. He's running in a straight line. There's no reason Matt Milano's foot should turn completely 90 degrees so fast, and you could see his foot getting stuck in the turf. Why is his foot turned? Why is Matt Milano's foot and leg turned? It's because his foot got stuck in that turf. So we're going to see it again. See it? I'm going to play it again. But that is the moment his leg, bam, bam. You see it get stuck in that turf? There's no reason his foot should have turned like that. He's running in a straight line and his foot turns. Hopefully you guys are seeing that. See his foot completely turned? I've watched this so many times, it makes me sick to my stomach. Oh my God. But, oh my gosh. Unreal. I'm not worried one bit. This team just keeps battling through the trials and tribulations and all the adversities. These things build character and turn teams into champions. Sometimes I believe. I love that freaking comment. Won't donkey like that. I like that. And you think about it, last year, everything that we went through, and it's hard to even remember everything that happened last year. Like Kim Pagula, John Murphy, Damar Hamlin, all the injuries, Micah Hyde, the shooting at Tops, the snowstorms that we had, the craziness, people losing power and getting stuck everywhere. I mean, it's hard to remember everything. That freaking Von Miller's injury. There was just so much that happened to the Buffalo Bills last year. And really, the Damar Hamlin thing was insane. Absolutely insane. But I agree. You grow from moments like that. And I think the Bills, our nerves are made of steel, man. We're made of freaking steel. I don't know. We can overcome anything. I really think, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do it. It's being through all those things, going through everything that this team experienced last year. I think we're prepared for anything. We're prepared for anything that could happen this season, including an injury to Milano, including an injury to Daquan Jones. We're refusing to give up. We're gonna go down fighting. That's for sure. That is for sure. Allen, yeah, definitely not. Allen is a freak of nature. Turf Murph making NFL. I know it. Oh my gosh. It is a shame. It is a shame. We definitely, AFC East is ours. AFC East is ours. Without a doubt. Without a doubt. I think Sean McDermott proved it. We did have an advantage, though, being here in Buffalo. McDermott even saying the crowd sounded like jet engines. Absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So that was huge advantage for the Bills. Having Miami at home, it's definitely going to come down to the Miami and Bills. Without Aaron Rodgers, another turf monster getting Aaron Rodgers. I mean, when are we going to learn? When is the league going to freaking learn? Playing on concrete from an anonymous player on the Bills, Kaiir Elam telling coaches he couldn't get the proper feeling under his feet. Taron Johnson saying, thank God, I didn't have my own season-ending injury. His foot got stuck. Matt Milano's foot got stuck. I mean, what else I got to do? What else do we got to do? I mean, is this not proof? The NFL put the Buffalo Bills in this position, going against a team that's been there for 2 weeks and used our home game as this. Matt Milano's foot getting stuck. He's running in a straight line, and you see his left foot turn sideways. Right there. See it? It's in the motion of turning right now. You can actually see his toe stuck in the turf right now. Matt Milano running in a straight line, jumping towards Trevor Lawrence, who was stepping up into the pocket, and Matt Milano's left foot and toe is stuck in the turf right now. I mean, When are we going to learn? When is the NFL going to learn, man? Just because greedy owners want to save a little bit money and use turf. And then this one hurts even more because the grass field is there. It's just tucked under the damn seats. It's tucked under the damn seats, and we have to go the whole rest of the season potentially without Matt Milano, because of this. Because Matt Milano's foot got stuck in the turf. I mean, are you kidding me right now? That's just freaking horrible. That's horrible. Dawson Knox, he's dealing with a wrist injury right now. I think Dawson Knox has done pretty well blocking, doing a little bit of everything for the Bills. Can I get the Super Bowl? We're going to get that Super Bowl, I promise. I promise. I promise. Crazier things have definitely happened in the NFL, Bills Mafia. I mean, it's not just us this year. It really seems like the entire league is suffering a lot of injuries. It's just absolutely so sad to see. I think it's time that not only players demand grass, fans demand grass. Injuries like this take away from the NFL. It's just not right. It's not right. All because the owners just want to make a little bit more money. It's cheaper. It's less maintenance, right? Having turf. It lasts. All these things. But there's so many inconsistencies with turf. You never know what you're going to get. Every turf has its own personality. Like grass is a lot more predictable. Players, you feel the ground under you. It's just not right. It's not right. We've never seen injuries like this. We've never seen injuries like this. But Pete says, I feel the science of them arriving on Friday was too much. Either needed a bye or to have gone later. Not saying jet lag is an excuse, but Coach McDermott saying we weren't informed. Exactly. Starting that slow, knowing we were definitely off. And, football's the ultimate team sport. And I was thinking about this. It's like, okay, there's so many different players on this team and coaches that facilitate this game. Even if one player didn't have jet lag, another player could have, right? Every player is their own individual. Every player is completely different. You don't know how this player slept. You don't know how this player slept. You don't know how that coach slept. You don't know what happened here. You don't know how he's feeling, right? It's just like there's so much to digest about it. It's like, what the frig? So clearly we weren't firing on all cylinders. I'm sure there was players that were jet lagged, and obviously we always talk about doing your 1 and 11th, do your 1 and 11th. If one of those 11 players had jet lag or wasn't 110% feeling themselves like they would have in a normal Buffalo Bills home game, I mean, that's clearly a disadvantage. It's clearly a disadvantage for the Buffalo Bills. But I know Bills coaches, Bills staff, no one's going to make excuses at one Bills drive. But, you have to look into it all. You got to look into it all. Like that, it's just not right. Take away our home game, have the Jags be there for 2 weeks when it's scientifically proven it takes about 12 days for the body to adjust to such a big time change like that. Jags were completely adjusted. Bills were not. Also playing on that dirty freaking turf, that injury trap of a stadium too. Everyone's saying, "Oh, this is going to look like the Bills Stadium and right here in Orchard Park." It's making me sick. It's making me sick. I know our stadium is going to have grass and a heated field. Our stadium here in Buffalo is going to have grass and a heated field. But to even make statements that our stadium is going to look like that stadium, it's starting to make me sick because of all the injuries. I really don't even want to be reminded of that stadium ever again. We got to move on. But between the refs, between the stadium, between the travel and the Jags being there for 2 weeks, between them taking away our freaking home game, all of the injuries, all the penalties, I'm like, oh my gosh. The stars clearly did not line for the Bills, and we only lost by 5 points. We still almost won that game. That is incredible. Didn't give up a sack offensively. AJ Epinesa, strip sack fumble, multiple sacks, still balling out for Bills Mafia. Unbelievable. Unreal. If we had Milano, if we had Daquan Jones in that game, there's not a doubt that we would have won. So like they got extremely lucky that there were so many injuries and that we were already depleted defensively. So I agree. There's some things that we could probably change up. Coach McDermott did state that potentially going there sooner, getting a little bit more adjusted to that time change. We got to see. There's not a lot of science behind it, like you said, Pete. And Roger Goodell even admitted, like, this is going to be a learning experience this year. And my point is, like, why would you use the Jags and the Bills as a learning experience after 2 weeks? Two teams fighting for the Super Bowl. Use this, like, experimental 2-week game against two teams that aren't in the hunt, right? The Bills and Jags should have been the first week of London, not the second week. I don't know. Looking back on it now that we see this, it's very unfair. But you got to move on. Michael Hall says the league has to do better with protecting players, without a doubt. Without a doubt. It's not right. It's not right. It's not right. It's all about greed. It's all about the owners and the greed and saving money. That's honestly what it boils down to. And like fans, like we need to make our voices heard, because yes, the players have to go through it. They have to go through year recovery and fight. Tre White is going to go through a grueling recovery here, and it's so hard for them. It's so hard for them, and it's so unfair to the players. But it's also unfair to the fans. It's unfair to us to allow owners to get away with having artificial turf. We have to demand grass. It takes injuries like this take away from the game, and we pay tickets, right? Even advertisers. If I was an advertiser, I'd be even pitching in for grass at this point. It's like, God, like Aaron Rodgers, think about the ad revenue loss because Aaron Rodgers without the New York Jets this season, all the money that could have been made on freaking commercials week in, week out. Advertisers are probably like, well, the Jets, there's no Aaron Rodgers, right? I mean, those advertisers should take that freaking money and put grass at that freaking New York Jets, New York Giants stadium that they got. I mean, it's just insane. Freaking nuts. Pete says, we have turf. Yeah, in Bill's Stadium right now, we currently have turf. I know. I can't. That's the whole point. They removed the grass was there this time. That's what hurts even more. It's like the grass was freaking there and they took it away. It's like unreal. Yeah, man. It's so sad. So sad. Best players on this defense gone. Definitely making things a lot harder. Then the Super Bowl chances are still there for the Bills. Crazier things have happened. We're still getting a lot of takeaways here. Leading the NFL in interceptions. Even doing decent with forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. I mean, we got to just continue to make plays, and we all know what Josh Allen is fully capable of. Running up that score, taking teams out of running it, right? So, Josh Allen in this offense, we just got to take care of business. We got to do our part. We got to step up. Ken Dorsey in year 2 with Josh Allen evolving this offense. We have to be better than last year. And we are. I think schematically, we're seeing a better offense, just schematically. And you look at the players that we have, Deontay Hardy, Trent Sherfield, Dalton Kincaid, I think is better than what we had last year, and better running back room. Latavius Murray, Damian Harris, James Cook in here too. We've gotten better across the board offensively. Osiris Torrance at right guard, a freaking plug and play rookie starter at right guard, mauling guys, going against Quinnen Williams early in the season. Chase Young, all these great players that he's gotten matched up against, doing his thing for Bills Mafia. And the highest paid free agent, Connor McGovern at left guard too. I mean, this Buffalo Bills offensive line, Spencer Brown showing flashes of his rookie season, getting back to himself too. And then the scheme also having extra guys in pass protection, keeping Josh Allen upright. We really didn't see Josh Allen do a lot of running yesterday too, or escaping from the pocket. But I think the scheme is there, definitely there. The player talent is better than it's ever been. This offense, just needs to step up. We got to step up. this defense under Sean McDermott, his first year calling plays, is clearly better just from a schematic aspect. I think the play calling between Sean McDermott and Leslie Frazier, Sean McDermott has already won in my mind. Like, there is no questioning the plays with Sean McDermott. People are questioning that blitz on third and long, with Micah Hyde on Calvin Ridley, but we almost stopped him. Like, Micah Hyde was millimeters from stopping that. He was so close to making a play. He was so close to making a play on that. It was unbelievable. And I love the aggressiveness. Like, staying aggressive in that type of moment I like it. Sean McDermott's definitely a better play caller. Pete, that was the worst zebra game. I know the refs, 109 yards to Bills, 11 penalties for 109 yards. And we only lost by 5. If we didn't do that, the Bills would have been probably down by 2 at the end of the game. We wouldn't have been so forced to score a touchdown. We could have just kicked a field goal and won. Think about it. We still almost won. Yeah, I saw that. And the crowd was sitting most of the time too. Yeah, so you got to think, obviously, Bills go from, us sounding like jet engines, against the Miami Dolphins, playing such a great game, then taking our home game away, going to London, playing on this artificial turf that NFL teams have never even played on before, taking away the grass on us against a team that's been practicing on it for 2 weeks. It's just stars didn't align. All the penalties too, the 109 penalties, it's just absolutely insane. The stars did not align for that game. It's going to be a lot harder. Everyone needs to rise to the occasion, even us, the fans. We got to do our part. Man, if Sean McDermott thought that we sounded like jet engines during the regular season, just wait until we get into those playoffs. Wait until the playoffs run through Buffalo. We got to keep winning. And it starts this upcoming week. New York Giants versus Brian Daboll, former offensive coordinator Brian Daboll. Everyone thought he was going to be awesome this season after a great season last year, but Daquan Jones is injured. Daniel Jones is banged up coming off concussion protocol. Darren Waller, a new signed tight end, really hasn't done much. And Darren Waller and Brian Daboll, man, everyone was expecting big-time things there. We know Brian Daboll spent 10 years with the Patriots as their tight end coach, working with Rob Gronkowski, Aaron Hernandez, and a lot of other tight ends, really, really getting Dawson Knox up to speed the past several years too. And we see it. Darren Waller goes to the Giants and isn't really much of a factor. Kind of crazy. And defensively, we saw Bills are just much better defense than the Giants so far this season. Yes, we are missing Daquan Jones, Milano, Tre White, but it's time to step up. Dorian Williams, Tyrell Dodson, Kyer Elam needs to continue to step up, but Christian Benford could be back for Bills Mafia too. Going to be interesting to see what happens. I really believe this is going to be a bounce back game for the Buffalo Bills, a game to get back on track against a coach that really left us. Brian Daboll left us for more money. Bobby Johnson, our offensive lineman or offensive line coach, he left for the Giants. Joe Shane, Brandon Beane's assistant GM leaves for the Giants, right? Tyrod Taylor's there. Boogie Basham was just traded there. So there's a lot of storylines going into this game, and some other rumors saying that Brian Daboll might be calling plays offensively. I guess he hasn't actually been calling the plays, similar to Sean McDermott not calling the defensive plays in years past. Brian Daboll might start this week calling his own plays offensively. So we really could see Sean McDermott, defensive-minded head coach, going against Brian Daboll, offensive-minded head coach. Very, very interesting. A lot of baggage there. I can't imagine how that's going to shake out. But I appreciate you guys. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's stream. I hope you guys enjoyed that clip that I showed you of Matt Milano's injury, actually showing that it was the turf. Having an anonymous player come out saying that it was like playing on concrete. Taron Johnson saying, thank God I didn't have my own season-ending injury. Kyer Elam saying, I couldn't feel the feet under me. I mean, what more proof do we need? And I really believe the Bills were frazzled. We were clearly frazzled from the injuries and the occurrence of Daquan Jones going out. And don't forget, Daquan Jones went out after stopping them on the first series of the game, forcing them to go 3 and out. Daquan Jones tore his pec on that 3rd and 1 and forcing the Jaguars to punt it. Offense didn't do much, didn't help us out. We punted it 4 drives in a row, and it's just so unfortunate. So unfortunate. Second drive of the game, that's what happened to Milano. They were marching down the field. They getting into our territory a little bit, and sure enough, Matt Milano comes in, breaks his leg. There's a flag on the play, and it was just over. It was over. Stars did not align for the Bills. Super unfortunate. I hope you guys truly enjoyed tonight's stream. If you did, hit like, subscribe for future videos. I'm dropping videos every single day, trying to go live every single night, but you know how it is. We'll see. I'm definitely going live during the week and also always during the games. I appreciate you guys. Keep your heads up high. The Super Bowl is not lost. I know a lot of people are hitting that panic button. Josh Norman just signed to our practice squad, coming in, giving some help. We'll see, Bills Mafia. We'll see. I'm not saying this Super Bowl, it's still possible. It's still possible. Just got a little bit harder. Still believe. I will check you guys soon, and go Bills.